PV3 coming at you with a new episode. Today, Yuengling's Hershey's Chocolate Porter. And just want to say this from the top, yep, a new argyle. Get a lot of DMs about my argyle sweater. I know you guys love it, so I decided to throw a new one in the mix. Got this at a consignment store for free because they were not looking at the door when I left. I meant to pay for it and it was under my arm, and then I realized I had no money and I left the store. And by the time I got home, well, to the neighborhood I was gonna park at, the sweater fell from underneath my arm. And the idea of going back to the store and explaining to them I had accidentally walked out, it just seemed a little much. So, I'm sure they'll be fine. Now, when the cop knocked on my window later that night, I thought I was busted. But no, he said, you gotta leave this neighborhood. You're creeping people out. And I said, fair enough, officer. So obviously, I very politely left that neighborhood, found a new one. And in that neighborhood, there was a house having a very late night party. And it seems like all the doors and windows were open. There was lots of people. It was pretty easy to just blend into the crowd. Lo and behold, what did they have available on the snack and beverage tables? Yuengling's Hershey's Chocolate Porter. So I grabbed 6 of those. And here's the last one. I figured this would make a good episode. Now, obviously, I had put on the new sweater and got many compliments. Also a lot of who are you. That party didn't last for me too long. But the sweater will, and the charcuterie board that I annihilated. You'd think it would be difficult for someone to eat that much pepperoni and salami, brie and Havarti, olives and rosemary almonds. But no, I went through that charcuterie board very easily. Did not pose much of a challenge at all. I was calling loud attention to myself, which is how they started noticing me. But again, a lot of compliments for the sweater followed. I'd like to think that later on that evening, in my absence, people are asking, who was that charming man here earlier? Mouthful of pepperoni and Havarti, spouting off many French wine country stories, his arms full of Yuengling's Hershey's Chocolate Porters, in a striking argyle sweater. So looking at this, it has the 1829 logo of Yuengling. It's been around for quite a long time. And as it says on their bottle, it is America's oldest brewery. It wasn't too long after that that those good Czechoslovakian brewers came over, Budweiser, and they started their own company. But first and foremost was good old Yuengling. And Hershey's, it's been around for a while too. Oh, it says here on the bottle, since 1894, I guess. What is that, 100 years? They're both old, and it's about time they teamed up with each other. And of course, if they were gonna team up, they were gonna team up to make a porter together. A little bit thicker, fuller beer, more of like a meal, which I'm always in the mood for these days. Well, let's open it up. Got sensitive rat fingers. Very chocolatey. Can smell that very rich porter ale aroma. Now, the other night when I was pounding these back, I didn't spend much time smelling it, but I'm enjoying this aroma. There's almost a caramel note, you know, as they roast that barley. So you're adding almost this caramel and chocolate flavor. Very nice, very pleasant. If I'm not mistaken, it's the roasting of the barley that gives the porter its dark color. And I'm not mistaken. That's correct. That's what I went to school for. Befriended a lot of monks. Let's take a sip. So very rich. Obviously, it's not an over-the-top sweet chocolate drink. What they're giving you is they're giving you a chocolate profile throughout the beverage. That's what you're kind of enjoying when you have this. So it's obviously not in the camp of Yoo-hoo or chocolate milk, but it's also not as sweet as, say, an oatmeal chocolate stout. This is a little bit smoother, a little bit drier. There's not a lot of residual sweetness to it, so you're just tasting the profile of the porter and the chocolate. But I'm talking about an amalgamation of flavors, and not someone who's just popping handfuls of Hershey Kisses while they're downing it with some beer. Just swishing it all around, just filling themselves up with it. Like the year Aunt Karen took me Halloween trick-or-treating, stole all my chocolate candy, and was just pounding it back. Candy, beer, candy, beer, candy, beer. Diabetes be damned. Karen was having her own Halloween party. A lot of people in the family say I remind them of Aunt Karen, you know? That she could have been my mother. And timing-wise, that checks out. Let's take another sip. That chocolate flavor comes in almost savory. not dessert-like, almost like you would find in a mole dish or something that's using chocolate in a salty meat dish, which I happen to enjoy. Sometimes the sweeter the beverage, the less enjoyable it's going to be. I'm looking at you, MD 2020. Calm down. Who would be drinking this? Well, Johnny Depp when he was playing Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. And Johnny Depp when he can't find any mega pints of wine laying around. And Johnny Depp when he finds a big turd on his pillow. Who else would be drinking this? Chocoholics, who are also alcoholics. Choca-alcoholics. I would pair this with s'mores over a campfire. Just pour this all over them. Soggy porter s'mores. Outside of a charcuterie board, I would pair this with anything you would pair a porter with, or chocolate. I've actually always enjoyed Yuengling as a very refreshing, light beer to have, so out of a score of, say, 50, I'd give Yuengling a 30. And for Hershey's, out of a score of 50, I'd probably give it a 22. Their quality has been lacking for the past decade. So combined, that gives this drink a score of 52. And I just want to say a thank you to whoever threw that house party. Didn't quite catch your name that evening, but thank you for the charcuterie board and allowing me to abscond with 6 of the Yuengling's Hershey's chocolate porters. They were put to good use, as you can see.